Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 56 of the Miami Tech Pod. Today, I'm joined by Brian and our special guest, Alex Zatarain, who's the co-founder and VP of Brand and Marketing at 8Sleep. Alex, welcome to the pod.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
And congrats on being named as one of the most innovative companies of 2022 by Fast Company. I saw that recently, so very exciting.
Yes.
For those
we're excited about that.
No, you should be. I think you guys were named alongside Canva, Microsoft, SpaceX. So that's incredibly exciting. A local Miami company.
I mean, that's some incredible company to have. So you guys should be proud of yourselves. Pat yourselves on the back,
We're excited to be in the wellness category too. I think that's something new for us. We had been named in 2019. I think it's consumer electronics, but the more and more we grow as a company, we really see ourselves as a health and wellness company. That's how we measure our success and our ability to help people live healthier lives. So that was a particularly exciting thing to see that we're being recognized as an innovative company in wellness.
Add one disclaimer before we dive too far into this, that both Maria and I are customers of 8Sleep, very happy customers, and we'll make our best effort to not have that bias or color the interview too much.
No, it was amazing. So before we get into my love of 8Sleep, for those of you who either have been living under a rock or who keep seeing all these people posting boxes of 8Sleep on Twitter and they're like, what is this? Alex, can you tell us a little bit about what is 8Sleep?
Yes. So 8Sleep is a health and wellness company focused on sleep fitness. What we do is we leverage technology to help people sleep better. That's why we started many years ago, and that's why we continue to innovate in products just to deliver actual sleep improvement. So the boxes that you see people post around on Twitter and a lot of social media are our best-selling product, which is the pod. The pod is a technology that you can add to any bed to help you track your sleep seamlessly and also track other important biometrics to measure your recovery levels. And then the pod uses that information to create the perfect environment with temperature for you to sleep better. So you can cool down or heat up each side of the bed individually and automatically through our autopilot feature so that you get the best rest and recovery every single night.
I think the split temperature thing is probably like the biggest selling feature for body hackers or whatever you want to call them. Because for me, I know this was the main selling point that my wife was willing to agree to purchase this, was that she likes it hot and I like it super cold. And there was no way to accommodate that by adjusting the central AC, and so this has done wonders for our marriage, so to speak. But I have to add also that she really, really enjoyed it while she was pregnant, and because her body temperature was fluctuating so much. And so she then was cranking it to -20 or -10 or whatever the coldest setting is.
Yes, the -10. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that could be another value proposition that you guys have, make it more comfortable for women during the 10 months of uncomfortable sleep, so.
Yes, I heard that from a friend recently, actually, with the same experience, where she said, well, during pregnancy, I was feeling very hot. So would take it down to negative levels. And then as she had the baby, then she went back up to warmer temperatures on the pod because women sometimes tend to feel colder. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. And the reality is that temperature changes so much for every individual in different nights, depending on the weather outside, depending on the temperature in your room. So that's why we decided to build a product that could in real time adjust the temperature and based on what your preferences are. There's the whole science behind it, right? So it's not something that we sort of discovered that, oh, temperature is important for sleep. It's proven scientifically.
Yeah, and I feel like there's the people like me who even if you, like Brian said, adjust the AC, it's still you have one leg out, one leg, you're constantly flipping. And this, since it cools you from underneath, you can stay so cozy under the covers, yet kind of get that coolness. So
exactly.
It was great. So can you tell a little bit about kind of the founding story? How did this all come about?
Yeah, we started the company quite a few years ago now. And the story starts with Mateo, who's my co-founder and my husband. and he's our CEO. And he started looking into the world of sleep because he was struggling with his sleep, sort of like for the first time in his life, right? He was an athlete growing up and became a lawyer, and then he became an entrepreneur. So very much the person who's always trying to perform better and like be at his peak and all of that. And when he started struggling, he became obsessed with trying to fix it through more, let's say, natural or innovative solutions like non-pharmaceuticals and things like that, which aren't good for you. And when he looked into what was available in the market, and it was probably like back in 2013, 2014, you really could see that there were only companies building products for comfort, mattresses, linens, pillows, which are great, but they are not the all-in solution, right? Just being comfortable is not enough for a good night's sleep from the perspective of sort of like contouring body comfort. Then there are companies that were doing at the time very early wearables that were starting to track sleep, or mobile applications, and so they only give you data. They can't actually improve your sleep. And then there was the third category of like pharma, which again, sleep pills aren't good for you. That might, not just because they're addicting, but the fact that they actually don't give you real sleep. That's what a lot of people don't realize, and they have a lot of long-term effects in your health as well. So he's like, well, this is crazy, right? We spend a third of our lives sleeping. It's the most important pillar of health. You actually would die sooner of sleep deprivation than you would of food deprivation. It's really critical for your body's functioning. And so he thought, well, there's all of these. He says that you probably have heard in an interview, he's talking about the fact that like Elon Musk is taking us to Mars, and there's like all of these companies building all these innovative things for other purposes, but no one's taking care of our sleep through technology. And a lot of people perceive technology as an enemy, but it isn't. If used properly, it can unlock a lot of benefits. And that's sort of the insight that powered the idea of building 8 Sleep. And that's still what we do day in and day out. And why people join us in building this company is because they are really inspired by the idea of that technology can help us sleep better, which will lead to just a net positive for the world. Like if you sleep better, you're in a better mood, you're healthier, you live longer, right? So I think we're lucky to get to work on something like that.
Do you think that's an interesting like insight? Do you think that there's been also a sort of like cultural shift from you know, maximizing your sleep being taboo? You know, there was all this like hustle bustle culture before, you know, and then now we're starting to see people like, well, no, I need at least the highest quality sleep whenever possible, you know, and it's almost like it's shifted to like being a badge of honor of like, you know, I'm optimizing on every aspect, including how good I sleep, you know, versus that being
Yeah.
a shame, you know, or something like that.
Yeah, it has definitely changed. So when we started the company, even our messaging, our marketing was more around the smartness of the product, because no one honestly cared about sleep improvement at the time. And so even though we cared, we didn't necessarily see in culture and in media those conversations exist. But everyone was obsessed at the time with like smart home products and the connectivity and the tracking, right? And granted, at the time, we hadn't necessarily proven that our products were improving sleep. Right? We're early on, we're building prototypes, we're building products, we're crowdfunding it. So it was also sort of a different stage. And it is a big insight of what you're mentioning, Brian, of how people were more focused on sort of the hustle and like work hard and like I'll sleep when I'm dead. It actually led us to really think about the language that we were bringing into culture, and like sort of the need to create a category for us as a business. Because unless we did that, and unless we made sleep something you desired, and like being healthy in your sleep something you aspired to and you invested in, then the business was never going to be successful. And that's why we created the sleep fitness category. And you hear us talk a lot about like sleep fitness and getting people to be sleep fit. That's really our mission. That's how we measure our success. Because at the time, in our first years as 8 Sleep, we saw that for the most part, sleep was talked about in the context of illness. Everyone talks about like sleep deprivation, sleep apnea, insomnia. Like when you're just given all these negative words, like, it's not cool, you know. Like I, even if you tell me you should sleep 8 hours, you should sleep 8 hours. That's just very condescending language. It just makes me feel guilty. You need to change that and get people to aspire to live this lifestyle, and they will eventually understand the benefits. But not everyone is going to invest in the time and the products for better sleep just because of the long-term benefits. They need some other hook to get into the movement first.
My question is, do alcohol brands hate you? Because my mattress shames me every time I wake up the next morning, and it's like, are you feeling less rested?
Yes.
What bad decisions did you make last night?
They probably do. And, Matteo and I stopped drinking alcohol close to 3 years ago. So we also see very interesting sort of effects with people that are our friends or, even our team members, where I think once you are an ambassador for a non-alcohol or low alcohol consumption lifestyle, a lot of people around you sort of get curious and want to try it. And we've seen huge improvements in our sleep because of it. But everyone is different, right? I think like a lot of the things that we see with 8 Sleep is that sleep is very personal. And even for an individual, it changes every single day. Us women, actually, something that is really important for us to consider is as we go through our cycle every month, every week of the month is different in terms of our core body temperature. And so you will probably, a lot of us, if you start paying attention, you will notice when during the month you will feel warmer. It's like right around that time for ovulation or pre-ovulation. Like there's all, if you go and search it, you'll find it. It's super fascinating. But just the idea that like we are different every week of the month, and that cycle repeats itself for years and years and years. And if you just sleep on a normal bed, that bed's not going to adjust for you. So what could technology do for you? And instead, if you have a male partner on the other side of the bed, they may not need to change every week. They could keep it a bit more stable. And so the personalization, even with alcohol consumption, some people may be able to metabolize it better than others. For the most part, when you have alcohol in the evening, especially later in the evening, your body temperature is going to rise. You're going to feel warmer because you're metabolizing that alcohol while you're asleep. So there's those implications to take into consideration.
That's an interesting dynamic, like variable to think about. Like, I wonder if at some point in the future, your 8 Sleep asks you like a survey before you get in, like, or as you're getting into bed for the night, like, how many drinks did you have, Maria? And like, how was your evening, right? And then that sort of
Yeah.
calibrates, adjusts to like setting 2 instead of, or preset 2 instead of preset 1 or whatever. So not that I'm calling
Yes,
Maria
that's the
out or
dream.
anything.
Exactly.
They
So
totally are. Yeah, I know after I can tag like little things about the day.
Correct.
But that would be interesting. Yeah.
so how big is the team now at 8 Sleep?
Oh, I think we're probably close to 70 people or so. Yeah, that's my guess. It's probably the number. We're adding a lot of people every week now. We stayed pretty lean for a couple of years there after COVID, and then we've started ramping up since our last fundraise.
How hard has it been kind of building a hardware business? I feel like
Oh,
now
it's
all
really
you
hard.
hear about is like software.
Yes, it's very hard. It's definitely very, very, very difficult. And I think that the reason is outside from the challenges of the business itself and all the considerations you have to have in terms of just the cash flows are very different, right? You need to invest in R&D, but then also when you're manufacturing and as you scale, there's a lot of investment even just to produce that inventory that you're projecting you're going to sell later on. So, we're seeing a lot of stories in the media of things done well or done badly, but it is a very rewarding business to build because people actually use your product. I think that's the part that I enjoy the most is there's something physical that you invented, literally, right? We invented this thing. We have patents for this thing that you both mentioned. You use it every night, and that's just there's a, I think, as an entrepreneur, an emotional reward in thinking that you're able to bring this to life. We designed every single piece of that thing, just Matteo and I and our team sitting down in our office and just looking at every fabric, everything you see in that product, we touched as founders, right? And then there's a team behind as well that it's bringing on a lot of considerations, a lot of their knowledge. But I think that is pretty unique. That I'm not sure I would get that sort of enjoyment and the endorphin rush when I see people posted on our packaging on Twitter if it was just maybe like a SaaS business. So for me, I really, really love it, even with all of the challenges.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. I think it's such a different skill set that you guys are developing and building out a hardware company, like, or a tangible goods company, right? Versus,
Yeah.
because you guys are also building out software and technology at the same time too. And there's a SaaS component to what you guys have going. So it's really this like multidisciplinary skill set you guys are building. So speaking of well, that was a weird segue, but I'm curious if there's any plans to build a an 8 Sleep for babies, like a 8 Sleep crib edition, because like regulating the kids' temperature and all this stuff. There's all these different things that you guys could do using your existing technology, and I say this as someone who has a 3-month-old at home, and so like this is a
Yep.
very like close to me problem, and I've seen how expensive some of these like cribs are, that are like supposed to be high tech and all that, and are basically like glorified like little swings and stuff. It's
Yeah, it is pretty requested. And like anyone who has a kid will ask us, can you build this for kids? Because if you can help me sleep better and you can help them sleep better, then we're a happy family. So I think eventually, yes, it would require a lot of changes in the construction of the product to make it, be sized for kids. And obviously like anything you put on the crib for your kid, you want a lot of research and backing behind it. So it's almost like spinning up a different division of the company. And that's honestly the reason why we haven't done it. Like we're sure it's a huge business opportunity, but as a startup, focus is so key because there's so many things we could be doing with our tech. We hear a lot of times, even just with our current product, well, women going through menopause love it. Why don't you target them more? Because it probably requires 2 to 3 people in a marketing or a sales role just to be able to speak to them. So that as a startup is always a challenge. Like, what do you focus on? And that doesn't mean in the future we wouldn't get to it for sure.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to like deploy an ambassador team for each of these segments.
Yes.
So you guys have a very international co-founding team. Your 2 co-founders are Italian, you yourself are Mexican. How has that impacted how you guys have kind of run the business and, look at different markets?
Yeah, I think actually the biggest impact was at first in the first years, there was a lot of challenges because we were sort of outsiders. None of us went to school really in the US. We didn't graduate from a school here. English is not our first language for any of us. We didn't have a huge or strong network. We didn't have any sort of stamp of approval, right? None of us worked technically in consulting or banking, which are maybe some of the other ways in which people can judge you. And so that made it pretty difficult at the beginning, especially when it came to raising money and attracting talent, because you're sort of unfortunately, right, and that's something that I'll talk about in a second of how we vet talent, but like unfortunately people still look a lot of those signals, and so what that did is that it required us to adjust and focus on hiring people who were taking bets on us, but we were also taking bets on them. So it was harder for us initially to sort of find, oh, let's to convince the person who had done it and who had the pedigree at X or Y company, because when they looked at us as founders, they're like, well, who are you, right? You haven't proven anything with your business. You don't have anything in your track record. You don't know anyone. You don't come from a big university, blah, blah, blah. So we've always sort of hired and consider ourselves like the underdogs. And we'd love to bring on board the underdogs, like people who also have that sort of pattern, who may not necessarily have all those stamps in their resume. And I think out of our own experience, we really see success in that. Like we have seen our own success from how that may make you hungrier and more driven to prove yourself, but then also the people we bring in our team. They shine because you're not vetting them for what they already did. You're vetting them for their potential and their smartness.
Well, you might not have had that kind of, I don't know if you use the term like pedigree before, but you guys have certainly done well for yourself. I think the latest raise was 86 million at a 500 million valuation last August, was it? Yeah. And you guys have like the who's who on your cap table. So you seem to have figured it out just fine.
Yeah. It took a while though. I think like that's another thing, right? That some people may have just discovered 8 Sleep in the last 2-3 years, but it's been a journey, and that's part of it too, where you get into building a company, you have to commit yourself for at least 10 years really to decide to give it all for at least 10 years, and hopefully you're successful, and if not, it's just a great learning experience.
It's interesting to think about, like, both venture capital and startups are supposed to be fast-paced environments, but you're right, you do need to spend 7 to 10 years to see like tangible returns out of both types of jobs.
The fast pace really comes from the fact that what you probably build in 10 years may take a more lifestyle business 30 to 40, right? So it's still very much a compressed timeline. And especially when you raise venture capital, the expectations are also that that capital is leveraged to move even faster.
So you alluded to this in terms of, what you look for in talent. So for all those underdogs listening, can you tell us a little bit about what you look for and also what roles, if any, you're hiring for right now?
Yes, actually, Mateo, I think tweeted this morning or some hours ago about some of the values, and it's just all comes from how we operate at Eight Sleep. And the number one thing we look for is mission alignment. That's for sure. Like, we're a mission driven company, so you need to be really in love and into our mission and this desire to help people achieve sleep fitness, and through that live healthier and longer. And we find that most people who join us now are super fascinated by that. Like, that's just something that they really want to solve and they really want to work with us on. And it doesn't matter if you're in the R&D team or you're in operations, you're in marketing, you have those interests. But then when you really assess an individual, I would say clarity of thinking is probably at the top of the list. It's not the same as being smart. Having the ability to distill complex problems into just the most basic principles, to be able to challenge your own assumptions, to have clarity on what you should be working on when and why, on what are the levers that you can pull in order to achieve your goals. And that comes from almost like a lot of exercise, like training. You need to train your brain to think that way. You need to listen to people who think that way. You need to read people who think that way. And eventually you'll find yourself being able to achieve that clarity of thinking in your own lane of expertise. But that's something we really seek to assess. A way that we do that is in our hiring process. When we make questions and how people answer, of course, I'll give you a bit of a sense of how people think. But we also have a part of our hiring process for most roles, not all of them, that will do a panel, a small project that will give the candidate a chance to showcase their thinking on a certain topic. So, for example, if we're hiring someone to lead our international expansion, we'll say, hey, here's your budget, here's the market we want to get into, here's the return on ad spend we'd want to see. How would you tackle it? And it's very clear when someone is able to distill a very maybe potentially complex strategy into the basic principles, because we do ask them to spend no more than 4 hours working on it. And so you can see who is able to get so clear, so focused, and communicate the things that matter versus people who maybe add a lot of embellishment and fluff. And that's usually a signal of lack of clarity. So I think that is the number one thing. Then, of course, we vet for expertise and experience, depending on the roles, especially more technical roles, even technical roles in marketing. We're hiring a lot. We're hiring across all of the functions, anything from finance. A lot of engineering roles are open. So anyone listening, you can check them out on our website. There's a careers link down at the bottom in our footer of our website, 8sleep.com. But a lot of mobile engineering roles, web engineering, product managers, also engineers in machine learning, across the board. There's a lot of roles open at 8sleep right now.
That's really cool. And I mean, do you have an idea of how big you guys think the company will be by the end of 2022? Like, how
It
many?
could double in size. Yeah. So it could be anything like 120 to 150 people or so by the end of the year.
Cool. That's a whole new skill set of like managing like a team of over 100 people. Tell us a little bit about, like, you guys have been in Miami, what, almost 2 years now, or a year and a half, or when did you guys move from?
Yeah, it'll be probably like a year and a half. It'll be 2 years like this summer.
Yeah. So tell us, like, what inspired the move? Like, what have your experiences been like? And also, what surprised you the most about being here?
I actually lived in Miami a long time ago, like 2010, for a year. So I went to school in Mexico. I went to school in Monterrey, at Tec de Monterrey, but I had to do a year abroad, and I chose to come to the US for that year. So I was born in California, so I'm very thankfully an American citizen. So I said, well, let me go to the US. I'm going to start working. I want to start building my resume because I'm going to be graduating soon. And out of random decision, because I had never been to Miami before, the University of Miami was an option for my school to do that exchange year. That was really important for me because I could pay with my scholarship back at Mexico without having to pay tuition at UM. And so I did that year at UM, which was a great deal. And I loved it. I loved living in Miami at that time. Obviously, I was 21, it's Miami. It's such an amazing place, but I love the weather, I love the energy, and I love the diversity of the city. I think especially someone who grew up outside of the US. Like for me, I've always been attracted to cities that have that vibe where like there's a lot of people from a lot of backgrounds. I feel more at home, and I feel like it's also more like refreshing and enriching. So that is actually when I met Mateo, who, like I mentioned before, he's my husband, he's my co-founder. We met when I was living here in Miami, and he was just passing by on vacation for a few days. So Miami always had this like special place in our hearts. I eventually moved back to Mexico to graduate, and then why Miami? When COVID hit New York, we had the company based there, but the work obviously changed. We went remote. Both of us were working out of a one-bedroom apartment. Life was very different. And we said, well, when we took the company remote, does it really make sense to stay in New York City? We loved living in New York all of those years. And we said, well, why don't we explore what it would be like if we moved somewhere else? And there were really probably only two places in our list because we wanted to stay in a city that was still big in the sense of like it's very lively. It has all the services. It has great connections with airports. Mateo's family is still back in Italy. My family is still in California. So there was something between like LA and Miami, but we have spent a lot of time in Miami for the years. Like any person living in New York, you come often, you visit, you enjoy it. So we knew it much better. So we flew down to Miami, probably it was like April, May of 2020, and just started looking around and said, well, where would we live, right? We didn't necessarily have an idea of what the residential neighborhoods were like or where would it make sense. And I really think it's impossible not to fall in love with the city. Like I think especially it has changed a lot, certainly since when I lived here back in 2010. It has grown so much. And so we loved it. We're like, this is it. Why we like it and what has been surprising, I think what we love is obviously the fact that you can live a much more balanced lifestyle in a way. It's certainly not a slow city at all, but I think people have a bit more of a sense of enjoyment in life. And I think it comes from this mix of cultures. You see a lot of people go out and do walks and running and do a lot of sort of physical activity outdoors. There's the amazing weather all year round. There is a lot of amazing places to have dinner. Just like it's very active, it's very lively. We really like that because as founders, you're working so much all the time that when you're not, you want to be able to be in a place where you can step outside and have fun and enjoy. And what we have been surprised by the most is probably what comes to mind right now, I would say, is like food, because New York is known for being this place where every type of food's available and there's so many restaurants, there's so many options. And we find the same in Miami now. It's just there's so many amazing places to eat at, all types of foods. And that's been pretty surprising. We were originally concerned, we're like, are we going to miss this food? Are we going to miss that food? But it's been so great. So we really feel at home from like day one. And we decided to commit to it and buy a home and just make it our place to be.
I love that. So actually, I want to get into a little bit about Miami Tech Week /month. But first, now that you brought up food, and Brian and I love new restaurants, and we're always sharing recommendations. Any favorite spots that you want to plug?
Okay, I'll probably ruin it because then maybe people are going to go there. But I feel like no one talks about this amazing coffee place that it's a bakery. But it's an Italian bakery, so it's highly endorsed by Matteo, who's Italian. It's called Rosetta, and they have multiple locations around Miami. And we love it. Like, we really love that place. Great coffee, great pastries. It's just all around one of our favorites. And it's has multiple locations, but it's very much, we've met the founder, he's Italian immigrant, came to Miami to open this bakery. So I think this is sort of very much the typical Miami story that you'll hear from a lot of these restaurants, which is amazing.
So will you say favorite pasta and favorite taco place?
Okay, so favorite pasta. It's hard. There's actually a lot of really good Italian restaurants here. We really love Casa Tua, has such good food, and they have 2 locations in Miami. I think, yeah, they have just like very traditional, simple Italian food. Favorite tacos. So there's a bunch. So I love La Santa Taqueria, which is north of the Design District. It's not far from where we live. It's pretty good. Tacobi from New York just opened. There's a few things in the menu that are pretty good there. There is Taco Stand in Wynwood, which is really good. And then if you want sort of like the healthier version of things, I really love the spot in Brickell called Ojo de Agua. and I think they may have the one down in Coral Gables, but they have a really good octopus taco, which I love octopus, and like just it's actually a chain from Mexico City originally, and they have a spot in Brickell that's really good. There's a lot of good Mexican places here, which when I lived here 10 years ago didn't exist. So I'm happy to see that change.
One of my dear Mexican friends from Mexico City, his favorite Mexican place for like not tacos is a place called Talavera, which is in Coral Gables. And there you can
Mm,
get what is it? The grasshoppers, what are they called?
yes.
And things like
The
that.
chapulines.
Chapulines, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so but yeah, it's very true. Like 10, 15 years ago, like if you wanted good tacos in Miami, you had to drive all the way down to Homestead, which is like 30
Hmm.
miles down, and kind of a slog. But now, like, there's a lot of like La Santa is also near my house, and so I love going there too.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of interesting, um, you know, niche or not niche, but like international foods that you wouldn't get necessarily in other communities or that you didn't get 10 years ago in Miami. Um, but I do think Miami does still have better variety of Latin foods than some other big cities. Like you don't get Peruvian food like ours in,
Yeah.
LA or New York or things like that. You don't get, but like, so I'm Panamanian, and one thing, we don't have any Panamanian restaurants here in Miami,
Oh,
which is just
wow. That's
zero, like
surprising.
a big old goose egg. So,
Are you sure
I
there's none like down in Homestead or something? You've
there's not
scoured
so
it.
there is one Panamanian chain that has opened here in Miami, but it's a cheese shop, La Chèvre, which is like
Mm.
near so it has nothing to do with Panamanian food. So, but I plan on supporting them, for mi gente.
Exactly. The only thing, honestly, we haven't found, and it's, I think, because we haven't really spent the time there, we've gotten recommendations from other people, is really good Chinese food, which obviously in New York, it's everywhere. And so we still have to probably spend some time trying the recommendations we've received on Twitter. Sometimes people have I think a lot of people that moved to Miami recently have made the same question, like, where's the good Chinese food? And we just need to try them all. So if you have recommendations there, I'll take it.
I'll give you some recommendations for Chinese and also for Korean food. And so,
Oh, nice.
yeah, so we can talk about that after. But anyways, enough of the food talk. Let's dive in. So you guys have a lot planned for Miami Tech Month, right? Or Miami Tech Week. You want to share with us some of the interesting things you guys are planning on, doing, and how also
Yeah.
people can get involved and check it out.
I think for us, it's really sort of like the tech month, like you guys were saying, because there is a lot happening between April and May. I think it really starts even sooner, right? When do we have the tennis tournament happening? Should be pretty soon, isn't it? So it's a lot of excitement, and as a brand, we focus on performance. The real message that we have with 8 Sleep is how sleep powers your performance. So with sporting events happening in the city, from between tennis all the way to Formula One, which will be a super exciting weekend. I mean, anyone who's trying to book hotels for that weekend, they're all sold out. So we're trying to find some other place to stay. So we'll be doing a lot of different activations. You probably see us around the city with a few things, which is really exciting. We'll be announcing some really good partnerships too. So yeah, it's not just around Tech Week, which we're definitely going to have a presence in, but even beyond that, and other activities happening in the city during the next couple of months.
Yeah, so that's a funny story on the topic of you guys getting involved with like these sporting events. I somehow got invited to a dinner that you guys hosted, and I had no idea what to expect. And I show up, and it's like all these CrossFit athletes, and I'm like, how did I end up at like this fitness influencer dinner? I'm like, I think the wires got crossed. I mean, I had an awesome time, but like there were all these like huge, like really fit people. But it was an incredible dinner. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, CrossFit is a big community for us, and we're working with the CrossFit champion from last year's games, Justin, who was at the dinner, and they were all in town for Guadapalooza, which was this amazing event that was hosted here in Miami, down in Bayside Park. And so it was incredible. Like for anyone who stopped by at Wadapalooza, we had a booth there. We activated the brand there with our athletes, but just the energy. It's like all of these athletes and so many people that came down from all over the world just to attend this event. Is the second biggest event outside of the CrossFit Games, which happened later this year. So it's just incredible to see how the city is attracting so many of these main sporting events across different communities. And obviously that drives a lot of opportunities for brands that are based here, but also just for all of the businesses.
I had no idea that Wadapalooza was that big. As someone who like did CrossFit for years, like I just assumed it was like this event that some random person I knew through a friend was organizing. I like, but that's cool to know. I mean, CrossFit was very like was or is still pretty cult like here in Miami, where there's so many boxes and so
Yes.
many participants in that, and it does make sense to like align yourselves with all the different athletic groups, here, because like everything from triathlons to cycling to you know adult sports leagues and things like that are also popular here. There's enough disposable income that there's people willing to spend money on you know getting back into it, right, and like
Yep.
recovery and all that, and so it's really interesting, the niche, the sort of the segment that you guys are building of the recovery aspect of life and of sports and all that stuff. I'm super looking forward to seeing like what other new products come out down the pipeline. um
Yeah, there's some new
Hope.
stuff coming, so definitely stay tuned. And like you were mentioning before, there's a lot of software innovation too. So yes, we are a hardware business. Is that so people knows like, oh, the pod, but there's a lot of work that goes into just making the pod smart. So the intelligence, the data tracking, and all of that. So it's a huge software play. That's really an important part of our business. That's what makes us unique. All of the learnings, the insights, and machine learning, the AI that's built out of just our hardware products and our sensors. So there's a lot of innovation happening in both hardware and software for us this year, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I love how even it like takes into account the weather outside and adjusts that to your. So it's incredible all the innovation you guys are doing. So keep up the incredible work. How can people kind of follow along the journey? Plug your Twitter or any other handles you want. I will make sure to include
Yes.
them in the description of the pod. So
Perfect. Yeah, no, find us on Twitter as we're most active. So you can find at 8sleep. You can find me at 8_Zatarain, which is my last name. You can find Matteo there as well. He's really active on Twitter. So yeah, ping us there. If anyone's moving to Miami or you recently moved and you want to pod, we can still extend our 2020 Welcome to Miami offer. So yeah, just ping us on Twitter. We'll make it happen.
amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the pod.
It was a pleasure getting to know you and all that. And hopefully we'll be seeing a ton of these activations throughout Miami Tech Month. And so we're looking forward
Yeah,
to seeing
stay
it in the
tuned.
wild. Yeah. Cool. Thanks so much.
All right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for listening, everyone.